Everyone, Regal Reviews here. It is that time of the week when I do my Damien recap. So to recap on this week's episode, it starts off with this woman in, I guess, a school trying to fix this window, and all of a sudden this ghost girl appears and says the beast will rise. So that was creepy. Damien then goes to visit this veterans hospital, saying that somebody could help him, and this woman's wondering, like, why are you here? And he tells him that he's a war photographer, and I guess she goes to call someone, and when he comes back and asks her what's going on, she says, looks, well, who are you? And she's kind of mean to him, but he sees the woman whose son he rescued from the train tracks in last week's episode. So he goes up to meet his dad, and his dad's doing pretty bad, and it doesn't look like he has much time left. So Damien actually comes up with the idea to photograph his experience right now. So they go into the pool for some, I guess, therapy for him, and he actually falls in. I'm like, oh my god, this is like another repeat of last week, and they were able to save him. But he reveals to Damien that he wants to kill himself, that he's only a burden on his family, and that in like a few years' time he won't be able to take care of himself, and his wife can't even hold down a job or anything. So he wants Damien to help him with that and to photograph that. So I actually feel sad for the guy. That's such a sad story. So there's also Anne, and I was a little bit confused because she's at her work and she's all visibly upset, and the blonde woman comes in, who I assume is her assistant, and Anne says, was I a good mother? Did I do the right thing? Did I raise him right? So, and that made me wonder, like, could she possibly be Damien's mom? And then the blonde says, define what you mean by raised right. So that makes me wonder, is the blonde her daughter? Because last week Anne revealed that her husband and daughter died many years ago. And we see some of Kelly's sister, and she suspects that Damien has something to do with her sister's death, and I don't trust her one bit because she's only bad news for Damien, and she actually sneaks into his apartment to find some clues. And what we learn is that Anne hired two men to go and destroy Damien's apartment. Why? It's not exactly clear in the episode. My theory is that he'll see his apartment destroyed and he'll come running to her for protection. We also see Damien visiting the we see him visiting the guy again, and it looked like I thought he like must pulled a feeding tube or something out, but then I remember he didn't have one, and he was about to kill himself. So Damien's taking pictures of this while it's happening, and he ends up killing himself. And I didn't know what to think of that, because I feel sad for the army vet, but then it makes me think about Damien. Like, it kind of shows his human side in a way, because in a way he's like helping put the guy out of his misery. But probably one of the most creepiest scenes in the whole show tonight was when he went down in the basement of the hospital, and it's like dark and everything down there, and you see this one nurse, I believe she was like doing surgery or something, and she pulls out this body part. I'm like, oh my god, this is creepy. And then you see some doctor doing it in the corner, but then you see these um, people sitting in a circle, and the room suddenly locks. And since it's a army, since it's a vet hospital, I'm assuming they're old vets, and they're telling the story about Damien, saying the numbers are 666, and it was an intensely creepy scene. Um, One thing that makes me question about Anne is that the blonde who's dating Damien's best friend, um, he's like asking, "Are you okay?" And she says, "Yeah, my brother's this prodigy and everything." So I'm wondering, like, is Damien her brother? Is Anne really their mother? I never heard anything like that until this episode. And I mean, Anne just said last week that her husband and daughter died in front of everybody, so I'm wondering what's going on there. Hopefully they'll touch base on that. But much like how the army vet killed himself, Damien went into this house. I originally thought it was Rutledge's house, and it's his old house. I think it might have been his childhood home. I'm not exactly sure. He locks himself in the garage and turns the car on and starts to inject himself like the vet did, and all of a sudden the tape falls down and the garage opens, and the two Rottweilers that we see in a lot of the episodes actually pull Damien out, and he's just left there then. So I'm wondering, well, from actually the previews for next week, you see that Damien's alive, but I'm really nervous for next week's episode because he appears to be very mad at Rutledge, and he he's saying, "You really think that you're my mother?" And he said, "My mother's dead. That might happen to you soon." I'm like, oh my god. And then you see the next scene, he's like starting to choke Anne. I'm like, oh my god, you better. I was like, I hope Damien does not lay a hand on Anne, because there'll surely be hell to pay. So I'm wondering what exactly is going to go down next week. I hope we find out if Anne's really his mother or not. That would be a pretty interesting twist if Anne's actually his mother. I mean, I kind of suspected that, kind of thought that, but we'll have to wait and see. So if you want to see Damien, it is on Mondays at 10 p.m. on A&E. I hope you enjoyed this Damien review, and until next time, stay regal, and remember, it's all for you.